typical disgusting display.
Oh, tonight we got 'em. Goldy, the Sulk, and JC.
The typical disgusting display. And it starts right now.
Oh, welcome back to another episode of A Typical Disgusting Display, a podcast.
Shut up.
Fuck me.
First joke of the day.
How dare both of you. And you enable him, JC.
Sorry.
You see what you're doing? You are encouraging this monstrous behavior. What are we? For writers by writers who hate writing. Yeah, exactly.
We're doing some fucking podcast for people, and there's something we're doing it for, and for some reason, for some people, for who knows.
I love that shut up was, if it were in a script, it would have been SHADDUP. Shut up. That's a great Brooklyn shut up. Well, I'm really excited and nervous for today's interview because we're going to be talking with astrophysicist, although he wants to be called an astronomer.
Right. It's less intimidating.
Dan Coe. He's working at Johns Hopkins.
That's sort of like I'm a co-executive producer of the astronomy world.
Yeah, exactly. He's a co-EP. But we're going to talk to him, and I have a bunch of dumb questions from a dumb guy to a smart guy, and I cannot wait. He was
Same. He's the John Mulaney of astronomers. This guy. He's very well known, and he's done some incredible work, and he's super intelligent and super nice. It's going to be a great conversation.
It's going to be awesome. And it's funny that you mentioned John Mulaney because, again, thank you, John, if you're still listening. I think he ghosted us a while ago. But
there's no way he didn't drop out the second after he ended the Zoom on his episode.
It was still incredibly nice of him to be on here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But John Mulaney, so I think last week I talked about, Tall and I have actually gotten into The Bear, and we had watched season 1, and we really enjoyed it. Well, now, a week later, we're through season 2.
Wow.
It's fucking excellent. I don't want to oversell it, but it's like, it shouldn't be called a comedy, by the way. It is much more of a drama, but it's great. The acting is phenomenal. The writing is great. They have great music. It's a really great show. I'm late to this, I know. But John Mulaney is in one of the episodes. They do a great. Most of them are half an hour.
As himself, or as
no.
And he's Chef Ray Dumont, who has a chicken sandwich that's just taken Chicago by storm.
It might put the beef sandwiches out of business.
Yeah.
No, he plays a character very much like himself, but he plays like an in-law in this family, and it's a Christmas dinner. It's an excellent episode, and he is very funny in it, and they have a lot of stunt casting. The cast is incredible, and the stunt casting, as you go through it, you're like, oh my god, it's her, it's him, it's him. And so Mulaney pops up in this episode, and he's hysterical. He does a great job. But I want to recommend this show to you two. I know people have been recommending this show for like the past 2-3 years, but I'm late to it. I'm loving it. I think you two would really love it too. So give The Bear a chance.
One thing that irritates me, though, that I'm concerned about.
Yes.
I don't like when people call the chef.
Oh, you'll hate the show, though.
Oh, it's
why? First of all, when they come to your table at a restaurant and it's like some remote god they're talking about, like,
that's what it's like.
Chef has an asparagus. Like, it's a rumor they heard. Chef has an eggplant parmesan that he's been working. Chef thinks that you should have. I talked to Chef, and it's like it's a fucking guy in a white hat.
May I say
like
something
throwing
about this?
shit on a grill. Like, I'm
ahead,
sure
Jake.
he's skilled, or she's skilled, or they're skilled, or whatever. But it's like, in my world, which is not this restaurant, guys, which is most of us, Chef is fucking nobody. Okay? We don't know Chef.
Okay.
We know Gary or Greg or what it is, Denise or whatever, and they're putting some ingredients together. No, I get it. And I get that the food's good. That's why I'm here.
Right.
But to go like, and it's like talking about Jesus. It's like,
It is like-
Chef says, Chef order. And it's like, you don't have to do what Chef says, you brainwashed.
Well, actually, I feel like head chefs do have a Jesus complex. So,
Well, they do.
I don't know if I've talked about this before on the podcast, but I did have a life before music where I was
didn't.
a restaurant manager of like shishi restaurants, like in San Francisco and in Boston. One of them was called Bix in San Francisco, where I managed that. I was quite young, and it was like my dream restaurant to manage. And that's a restaurant that Craig loves.
Yeah.
So
Kilborn.
yeah.
Tonight. We got him.
We got him. We had a chef there. I don't remember his last name. His name was Nick, but he was just nominated for the Rising Star Award, right? So from the James Beard Foundation. And because of that, he felt he could be the biggest prick to anyone he wanted, and he was safe, from losing his job. So if you went in there, and even as not a person who worked in the kitchen, if I did not know what I was talking about, I was treated, anybody on any level was treated like they were idiotic, and that they didn't respect the food, that they were in this space and what the chef was trying to do. So you
the
get
chef
kind of
or chef?
chef that chef was trying to do. And you hear in the kitchen, they'll be like, order up or whatever, and you hear the whole kitchen say, yes, chef.
Yes, chef.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
chef.
it's like very stressful. And when I was training at Bix, they put me in the kitchen for 2 weeks, working in the kitchen with them to experience this. And by the end, I'm like, yes, I mean, you just get brainwashed.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's
Well,
a cultural
by the way,
thing.
so Goldy, that's a very funny point. And I think you now, if were you to watch the show, you'd
You
be in
hate
for
it.
the double whammy, because not only does everyone address the chef as chef, but everyone in the kitchen is addressed as chef. So like the chef will talk to another person in the kitchen and call them chef.
What the
so it's
fuck?
like, do you understand me?
It's like we're all named Derek? Like,
Yeah.
What's happening?
Daryl.
Everyone is chef.
Bring me into the show as a guest, and let me. And I'm the guy who will not say chef to anyone. Why are we calling each other chef? This is fucking stupid. We don't know who we're talking to because we're only saying chef.
We should try this at Family Guy, where we'd use just writer. Yes, writer.
This is stupid.
Writer. Yes, writer.
Well, JC, then, because I feel like I have a shot with you on this show. I want you to check it out. Goldie, it seems like you're out, because the chefs.
I'll do it.
The chefs are flying in
Now-
this show.
Well, why don't we get someone who writes for the show on? I mean, we can
should,
try.
because it is so well written and it's so well acted.
Okay. Reach out to us if you're listening.
I know. If any of the Bear writers listen to this podcast
Or
by
know
chance,
someone.
please feel free to reach out to us, because I fucking love the show.
I do want to watch it. I'm sure it's
Now,
it's
is it
great.
stressful?
It's great.
Do you feel
A little bit. It's
Okay.
not too stressful, though. It is. I mean, it's like, is the restaurant going to open kind of thing. But
I'm gonna have
you know what
nightmares.
what I realized, and we've talked about this before, where one of the funniest shows in the history of television is The Sopranos. And the comedy comes so naturally out of the drama, like and the characters.
Yes.
And The Bear is like that. It is a drama that has a lot of funny moments that arise naturally out of what they're doing. So I sort of object to this idea that it's in the comedy category. It feels more like a drama to me, but that said, it's excellent.
Okay.
So that's my short spiel for The Bear.
Okay.
All right. So, yes, I'm going to need several Johnny jokes up on order. Are we ready for that, Chef?
Yes. Chef.
Who? Wait, are you talking to me or are you talking to JC? Because we're both chef.
Are we ready for that, Chef?
And you're chef. So are you talking to yourself?
Are we ready for Johnny jokes today, Chef?
Yes, chef.
Listen, first of all, I fucking quit, okay? From the kitchen, oh, chef has written some great, well, Johnny jokes for years. Chef!
So good.
Oh, that's great. That is great. Okay. Let me find these. Let's bring it down here. Well, archaeologists believe they may have found parts of a barrier wall on the edge of an ancient property that may have belonged to Noah.
Ooh.
I call BS, no offense.
The Vichy wasn't.
Yep. Oh, they're all Vichy swasants today. They're all Vichy swasants. No offense. All right. Maybe you heard this. A priest in Ohio is suing Grindr, claiming that he was outed by the app. The priest added that his congregation has shrunk and men now refuse to come in his rectory.
Oh my God.
Vichy swasn't.
Oh my God.
And a New York City steakhouse has been forced to add a disclaimer that their photo of Perry Como is not Jeffrey Epstein. This is true. And while it's true that the 1950s crooner was not a dangerous pedophile, there were whispers that he was a homosexual.
Where did you find that story?
That was actually sent to me by one of our listeners named Doug Sarazen, who sends me funny headlines.
Oh,
nice.
You've got employees now for this.
Yes, chef. Yes, chef. I need headlines, chef.
Wow.
All right. And now I am going to close with a Karnak. And I realize that I have no piece of paper for the sound effect, but maybe JC, I don't know if you have a piece of paper.
I'll put one in there.
You can rip it in half. All right. Here's a Karnak. Schindler's Lisp. Schindler's Lisp. Oh, thank you. Name the only Best Picture directed by Steven Spielberg. Johnny 2.
I don't know what Chef is doing back there. I'm so sorry. This is on the house.
We need 4 to 5 more Johnny jokes, Chef.
Okay, here we go. Well, according to a new book, Prince William actually dumped Kate Middleton during a brutal 30-minute call back in 2007.
Ooh.
And then a single hair fell out.
Oh, that's a joke that comes from truth.
Yep. I don't know if you heard about this or maybe you felt it, but a 4.9 magnitude earthquake hit Southern California on Monday. It was so powerful.
How powerful was it?
It was so powerful, it shook Justin Timberlake's car back onto the road.
These are great. Excellent.
I don't know if you heard about this. YouTube star turned boxer Jake Paul endorsed Donald Trump. Paul explained he didn't initially support Trump, but then you get punched in the head enough times. Okay. And this is my favorite story of the week. The Associated Press has reported that the internet speculation that J.D. Vance had sex with a couch is false. This is a vicious, malignant, and defamatory character assassination, said a spokesman for the couch. And finally, a so-called white dudes for Kamala Harris call was a success with 190,000 guys logging on. And only 189,000 took their dick out.
Oh, yes. Oh, I love it. Kamala.
I'm never going to get it. Anything involving pronunciation, just go elsewhere.
Yeah, you and my dad both have that.
I mean, this is how it starts. And then I'm sure by the time if I make it to 80, 85, 90, it'll be like just an incredible mess.
It'll be even funnier.
All right. Oh, friends, we are so excited. I'm legitimately excited and kind of nervous for today's interview because usually, we have writers, the occasional actor. So I think we can keep our sort of this facade of intellectual superiority going with our guests. Today, that's out the window.
Yeah, what was it you said to me in private that 80% of our guests are beneath you?
Yes, and I think that's a conservative estimate. I think
Okay,
we were talking about, and you wholeheartedly agreed. But today we have a special treat. Today we have astronomer. He wanted to be called astronomer and not an astrophysicist because he feels that turns people off on airplanes. But he is here today. And he's at Johns Hopkins, and he'll tell you exactly the specific area where he's working. But astronomer Dan Coe is with us here today. Dan, thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome.
Thanks. It's great to be on, and I'm big fans of you all and your Family Guy and everything. So yeah, it's great to be on here, and I don't think of myself as above anybody. So it's great to be on.
Look at that. He's already way smarter than we are. But let's talk a little bit about how you came to be on this particular podcast, because it was, I think it was interesting from both sides.
Yeah, I actually had a theory. I'm a scientist. That's what I do. I come up with theories about things.
Sure.
Alec smokes a lot of weed. And so I imagine he was home, watching Netflix. And there was this documentary about the James Webb Space Telescope. And he didn't put it on. He was watching some American Dad rerun, and it got to the end. And it auto-played this documentary. And then he was like, oh, wow. Space, man, this is awesome. And then he's watching. He's like, "Wow, we gotta do a show about this." And so and I'm on for 2 seconds. I was hardly on the show, but he emailed us, and most of the astronomers were either too busy or had more sense about them. But I replied right away, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a big fan. I want to be on." So.
Wait.
Thank
God for that. Well, we'll see if we can thank God for that. We'll get into that later.
Alec, can I ask you a question about
this?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I did watch the documentary after you had said you'd reached out to Dan, and I'm looking for a long interview, a segment with Dan. Was it because of the Christmas sweater that you were like, this guy looks like a nice guy?
There was, Dan, I will say that JC's not too far off on this. There was something, even though you're right, you were only in it for a few seconds. They're showing different astronomers reacting to the launch of the James Webb Telescope. And they showed you for a second. First of all, you have a nice face, as my mother would say. You have a nice face.
It's true.
And you just seemed like you were so happy and excited watching this thing take off. And you're right. I was stoned. I was watching Netflix. I was getting very into the space of it all, and then I saw a few of you guys reacting to this. And you seemed like the most accessible out of the batch. I was just like, Dan looks like somebody who I've known, my whole life somehow. So I, looked up, I had a couple of false starts because, again, stoned, where I was getting the initials wrong in your email. It's like STCICS. And I had messed it up and it was bouncing back. And I was like, well, maybe this won't happen. But I'm like, I'm going to try it one more time. And you did. You replied so quickly, which was so nice. And now for a few weeks, I've just been excited. And today I woke up nervous with that same feeling of I have a test today and I have not prepared. I'm not ready for this. You don't want to be called a professor. But tell us a little bit about that. So what are you doing? I said Johns Hopkins. I know it's something more specific than that. Where are you working now? And what does your day consist of?
Right, it's very, very kind. I have a great face for a podcast, and I'm glad to be on here. So I'm at the Space Telescope Science Institute in Baltimore, which is on the Johns Hopkins campus. And a lot of people, even in Baltimore, don't realize that that's where we run the Hubble telescope and JWST, this news telescope. And so I've been, looking for distant galaxies for many years, and we use these telescopes like time machines. We're literally looking back in time, billions of years, and we're getting really close to seeing the Big Bang. Giggity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I have a question about the Big Bang, because I feel like for our whole life, the Big Bang has been the accepted theory about the beginnings, I guess, of the universe, for lack of a smarter way of putting it. But I've been hearing rumblings in the last few years about now we don't think it's the Big Bang. We think it might be something else. And there are certain galaxies and systems out there that don't adhere to the sort of explosive nature of a Big Bang. And there are certain systems where the scarring on the planets doesn't seem to match up with that. What do you make of all that?
Yeah, you can't believe everything you read online. And, these are the most, sensational ideas that, in the first 2 weeks after we started getting data from this new telescope, some people, started to say that, oh, maybe JWST is breaking the universe. And it just, it wasn't true. This was early data. We were still figuring things out. And it's tough because it's the most exciting thing that we could be doing right now. I mean, the fact is we don't understand what 95% of the stuff is in the universe. And so some idea that we might be figuring that out is exciting. But the fact is that, science works. And we actually, do kind of know what we were doing. I mean, a lot of this stuff was going on, when, people were having a hard time, deciding what to believe and, whether or not to get their COVID shots. And, we want to send the message that actually, we understand this stuff, and it didn't. We weren't wrong about everything, We did understand a lot.
Well, can I ask, when you say the telescope was launched and you're looking at data, can you explain? Are you examining pictures and magnifying the pictures and seeing stuff, or is there a math element in here? Because we can maybe go into later how I was an astrophysics major and almost failed out. And had to switch to English. But are you seeing, what is the nature of this data? Is it visual data? Is it mathematical data? And how are you analyzing it?
Great question. Yeah, I love looking at the pretty pictures, and
Nice.
we do magnify it. It's funny you mentioned that. For the folks on YouTube, I can put up a pretty picture or two, and maybe help drive a little traffic there.
Yes, please.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, so this is our giant golden telescope, the James Webb Space Telescope that I'll call JWST for reasons we could get into. But and this was the first image that it took, which was phenomenal. And just so exciting to see what it could do. Because I actually took this picture with the Hubble telescope some years back. And then was so excited to see JWST take this picture, and you could flip back and forth all day and just look at things.
So basically,
Big Dipper here, Orion's belt. What are we looking at?
So basically, you spent all that money just to put a different filter on it. Is that what it is?
Right. We used AI to enhance it, and it looks amazing now. But it's funny you mentioned cool. Magnifying things. I can stop sharing because we actually, you might notice all of these little, some of these galaxies are stretched. And so we use something called gravitational lensing, where matter actually bends space, and the light goes around, it follows those curvatures and gets magnified, which seems really abstract, but it's really simple. You can do the same thing with a piece of glass. Or if you're the next time you're having a glass of wine or beer or something, and you get the base. So.
Yeah.
He's getting wasted for those people who are listening.
I mean, I figure most performers are most of the time.
Yeah.
Right? So
he just chugged wine.
That was a beer, that one. That was a stout. And you can see the things are magnified. And so that's how we're able to see these things in even more detail. And we combine that with the power of this new telescope, and we're looking even, further back in time and seeing so much more detail.
But you're seeing pictures, and then you're using math to understand the pictures?
Yeah. And, a lot of people might get intimidated. They think there's too much math in astronomy. And there is, but I don't do that. Other people do that for me, which is great. There is a lot of nice. Computer programming. So, just trying to, but a lot of that code has been written now. So I think the barrier to entry is a lot lower for folks that are interested in getting involved, either as, professional astronomers or as amateurs. There's a ton of really fun projects that, people can work on.
That's so cool. And now I have this is a big question, but do you believe that the universe is infinite?
Probably not. It's 13.8 billion years old. And it's, at least in terms of time, it's not infinite. But space, yeah, it could be. We don't know. I mean...
Yeah. Is that frustrating? Is it frustrating to be in a field where you kind of have to acknowledge that maybe you don't know like 99% of what's going on?
There's a lot of discovery space there. I mean, it's exciting that there's so much to learn. So,
Frontier.
But, when I was a grad student, I wanted to help figure out what dark matter was. And then I eventually realized that's way too hard, and I wasn't smart enough. And so then I ended up using this. Most of the stuff is dark matter, so that's a lot of the mass that does this lensing thing. But then now I just use it to see the distant galaxies. You can also use the lensing to map out the dark matter and actually see it, which is another really cool thing that we do with it.
So the notion of the universe having an age, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Go into that a little bit. So what is the implications are then that there was nothing? Like, what does that mean philosophically, if you can wrap your mind around it at all, that there was a start to it and what was before it?
That's above my pay grade. And, so what became before, the Big Bang? I don't know. I mean, there's one idea that, somebody mentioned in a talk a while back, that maybe like each black hole is the beginning of a new universe in some other dimension. And yeah, maybe. I mean, will we ever find out? I don't know. But it's one of those big questions, like, why are we here? That
why do people go bald? Right?
Well, I guess in asking, because I'm fascinated by the the potential of an infinite universe, and I guess you're saying that when you analyze the data, even though it's we're still learning a lot, but you don't necessarily feel like this universe is infinite. But do you feel like, I think I firmly believe that, yes, there's other life out there. There just kind of has to be with such, a vast expanse and so many galaxies and solar, all that, billions and billions. But do you adhere to these sort of theories? It wavers into a Marvel universe of like multiverse, and like there are other planets just like us where people might be having this exact same conversation, and maybe I'm the one who's bald and Goldy has hair. Like, do you believe in that kind of variance?
No, not at all. I think the multiverse is BS, but it may be. I mean, we don't know, right? And it's fun to play with that. Like every time we make a decision, things split off. I don't think of myself as that important. But the idea that there's space could be infinite, and there's so much. There's so many stars and planets out there that I think it was Carl Sagan that wrote that it'd be an awful waste of space if there was another life.
Right.
I'm super excited. I want to grew up watching X-Files, and I want to believe there's aliens that, I don't know if we've seen them. There's a lot of talk about that. But I'm super excited to try and hope that we do someday. I mean, I can't wait to see like how they've developed, if they developed, their economies and politics and love and cure for, baldness, or like, what are they doing? Like,
we got a theme today.
Yeah, we could learn so much.
Well, but see, to me, the word infinite, it in my mind, and maybe tell me why I'm off on this. In my mind, if there is, let's say, an infinite universe, then it would have to follow that there would not only be life, but there would be this exact life happening somewhere else on a far side of the universe, that there would be almost this exact thing, except all of our skin would be green. There would be one where, Goldy and I would be a gay couple. There would be one where, it's just like every possible combination.
I love that's the only combination you come up with.
Well, I left you out of it, JC, because for HR reasons.
Yeah,
but
that's not what I meant.
I mean, you don't really let your mind tumble in that direction? Like there's another me out there.
No, sure. There's still hope for you too. I mean, you're still young. You can still get through it.
Yeah, you don't need another dimension or universe.
Yeah, plenty of time. But I don't know. I mean, I wonder. Sometimes it's funny. I mean, studying astronomy gives you this sort of cosmic perspective where you realize we're insignificant and small compared to the universe. And yet at the same time, like we could be the pinnacle of creation, that after 13.8 billion years, we came from literally nothing, and little atoms, built up into larger things. And then eventually life evolved, and then more complex life. And then, dinosaurs just were, kicking ass. And that sort of makes sense, actually, that the most ferocious thing wins on a planet. And then for them to get wiped out to give us a chance, that might be a fluke. And so I really wonder if we look out there, we might find a lot of planets with nothing. We might find some life, maybe some dinosaurs if we're lucky. But are we going to find anything that, we can talk to and learn from? Or are they going to be totally more advanced? I mean, I don't know. It's really exciting.
Oh, yeah. God. It makes my head spin thinking of all this. Well, you brought up the dinosaurs. So that's another issue where I feel like there are a few different points of view as to why the dinosaurs died out. Do you believe it was like a big meteor that hit the Earth? Do you think that's what it was?
I think, yeah. Isn't that the latest? And then it triggered volcanoes and stuff. And yeah, why did you hear something different? Or
yeah, what news network are you plugged into?
I heard it was opioids. So I don't know. There's a lot of stuff floating around out there. What I always want to ask.
Turned into Trump all of a sudden. A lot of people are saying the dinosaurs. It wasn't a meteor. I've heard both. Okay.
Okay.
It was
Maybe I'm flipping through my Instagram reels too much. What is your relationship with religion?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I'm actually half Jewish, half Catholic, by birth. And
super guilty.
Yeah, but I wasn't really raised to have that guilt, or to necessarily be that religious. They didn't, put it on me. And so, yeah, I've always been kind of, agnostic. I think my wife would tell me I should pick a side and, just go, but, I don't know. We could say that, someday we can create consciousness, then we will be the gods of those beings. And could there be some sort of God? I don't know. I mean,
well, if you
how
don't
much
know.
does this stuff, the sort of metaphysics of the nature of everything interact with your daily work? Is it something that's, you're talking about a lot, or is it more like, douchebags like us come to you having smoked pot with big questions once a year, and you're we got it all, but the reality of astronomy is actually more just the analysis of data?
Yeah, my wife suggested I take a gummy before the show so I could talk better about all this. And get into
No,
it,
you're doing great.
But I didn't. We don't talk about it at all. And so even asking me about it or hearing what I have to say, it's maybe not. I'm not that well versed in it, but I just have some opinions. But
hold on while I erase all my questions.
Well, here's one. About. Johns Hopkins. Why is that like Ruth's Chris? What's going on with that name? John Hopkins. What?
Yeah,
what's happening?
That was just one of them, right? Yeah.
Do we know where that came from? Why it's John's and not John?
I could find out. Let me ask my assistant here.
Put that. Have the Webb telescope look at the Johns
forget
Hopkins
the stars
sign.
and everything. Why is this whole thing named
Johns
something
Hopkins?
stupid?
Yeah, that's incredible. And tell us why, because you mentioned earlier that you're calling it the JWST and not the James Webb, I guess, Space Telescope. Why do you call it by the initials?
Yeah, so there was some controversy, and people wanted to cancel the name James Webb from the telescope because there was he was one of the administrators of NASA, and he was in the 60s, and he oversaw the Apollo program, and he led to the moon landing. So it was a great accomplishment, and people wanted to name it after him. But then there was also the Lavender Scare in the 1950s and 1960s, where a lot of gay people were persecuted and fired, even of just being suspected of being gay.
Right.
So a lot of people said, all right, look, can we just find somebody else. Like
Yeah.
there's. The
So he was
telescopes haven't
gay.
been named after. So that I guess I'm not saying that, but
okay.
people who
Sorry.
are, I suppose it, goes with
speculated.
homophobia sometimes. I
see.
don't know if anybody was suggesting that, but just that, and it's not even clear. I mean, people, tried to look into the records and things, and it's not clear how much he was involved, or if he was, complicit at least. But at the end of the day, people said, well, maybe we could find someone else. Like, how about naming a telescope after a woman for once? Or, there's a lot
I
of
see.
maybe better choices. A lot of times we name them after astronomers. But going forward, the next big telescope is going to be named after Nancy Grace Roman, who did a ton of great astronomy and was called the
cool.
Mother of Hubble for a lot of the work she did. And there's another one, a ground-based telescope is going to be named after Vera Rubin, who
cool.
found dark matter. Yeah, there's some progress going forward, but yeah, I'll try to stick to calling it JWST.
Is this
I
a
see, yeah.
NASA project, or is this private enterprise, or somewhere in between?
It's NASA and also ESA, the European Space Agency, and then the CSA up in Canada, and then there were different organizations that contributed to help build parts and things, and it was 20,000 people over decades that developed this telescope to the point where the first images came out, and I was talking to some reporter, and they're like, who do we give credit to for this image? And I'm like,
Right.
I don't know. It's like I started to tear up a little bit. There's like 20,000 people. How do you?
But there must be one
somebody?
person. Like, I always think about this when you drive by some project on the freeway and there's 300 people working. Like you say, this vision exists in someone's head. It has to. And that, so where do these telescopes come from? Ultimately, is it one person who says, like, hey, I have an idea, really big telescope?
Yeah. And they get paid a lot of money to figure that out. No, it's but people do have to put in the work, and there's some people who have been working on this for 30 years or more. And,
is it the optics? Like, is it literally the ability to manufacture a better lens, or what is so special about it?
Yeah.
It's why don't I'll pull it up while we're talking. I mean, it's
nice.
huge, and it was so big, that they couldn't even fit it in a rocket. So there it is on the left. If you're on YouTube and can see this, and so the mirror is 20 feet across. Hubble the mirror is 8 feet across, so that's like floor to ceiling in your house. Whereas this one is 20 feet, so like a 2-story building. And they actually had to fold it up. So you can see in this other image here, they fold in the sides to get it into
Like
the rocket.
an umbrella?
They also have this giant sun shield on the bottom. It's like 5 layers to protect it from the sun and to help keep it cool, which was new technology, as far as we know, that's never been developed before. Because this thing looks in the infrared, and that's why it has a gold telescope, that mirror that's better for infrared, and also all this blocking the heat.
Right.
Wow.
Well, now, and in watching this documentary, one of the very cool things about it was, and I forget the exact term that they used, but there were like 350, what were they called? Like,
Yeah, it was single points of failure.
yes. So like they had to basically jump 350 hurdles, and if they missed any one of them, the whole thing would fail. But
Yeah.
it succeeded, which is crazy because then they went on to say like that the Mars lunar rover had like 70 or 80, and like that seemed like a lot. So were you charting the progress of this JWST the whole way through and just like, okay, we cleared another 20 today, we cleared another 30. Were you aware of that as it was happening?
So I give a lot of thanks and credit to the 20,000 people who worked on this and worried about all that. And a lot of that came down to the launch. And once it was up there, all of those 350 or so things, going right. And there were a lot of us who were all in on this telescope. I mean, I don't know what I'd be doing right now if it wasn't for this telescope. I've been looking for distant galaxies this whole time with the whole purpose of looking at them with this telescope. And, people who've been planning this for 30 years, and it could have failed. in so many different ways. It could have blown up on the launch pad, or but it's up there, and it's amazing. I mean, we saw these first images come back, and I got to see this a bit before other people. I got to be involved in helping to make this happen, but I was sworn to secrecy. And I was telling other astronomers, like, look, I've gotten to see this, and I can't tell you what it is, but it's going to blow your mind. And I'm telling you, it's going to blow your mind, and you're still going to have your mind blown, because it's just so much better. Like, we had tried to simulate what we thought this would look like, but like all the little specks and all the details was just like, so much more amazing.
Can I ask you a question about this photo? Yeah. When looking at each stream of light, can you identify vaguely or even exactly like what we're looking at, if you just by color, by shape, by like the sharpness of the light, or I'll walk you through it a little bit. I mean, so there's there's a few stars, and you see the big spikes, like the six-sided spikes. Those are stars in our own galaxy, and those might be 10 light years away, they might be 1,000 light years away, but then you get to everything else. So like the other, thousands of dots and bigger galaxies you see, those are all distant galaxies. And so you see a few pretty spirals, like our Milky Way, and then you see, but not many, and then you see a bunch of these sort of round, sort of like, elliptical, sort of like a football, these yellow galaxies. That's because we're looking at a galaxy cluster. So they've all kind of had time to orbit each other and erase all of that pretty spiral structure. And now they're just like these big balls up in space. That's why they're blurry. Wow.
We'll use that. Big balls up in space.
This is really, it really is overwhelming to think about, honestly.
Totally.
It is.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about the logistics, because that was a fascinating part of the documentary where it explained that the JWST flies out to this special zone that's like 2 million miles away, and it uses a combination of the sun and the Earth's gravitational pull to kind of stay in a circular orbit. So is that where it's going to live forever?
Yeah, that's the idea. It's a little parking spot we have for it out there, and there's other telescopes out that way. It's far from the Earth. It's nice and cool and stable. And since we had such a perfect launch, we think that we may get 20 years out of this thing, which is even more than we had dreamed of. We were thinking maybe 5 or 10 if we were lucky.
So now explain to us the difference between the Webb and something like Voyager, which like those are just going, right? They keep flying out away, and the Webb is sort of in, as you say, a parking space. So what do we hear from Voyager 1 or 2 anymore? Or are they too far away?
Yeah, I think we've still been hearing from them, and I think it officially made it outside of the solar system. There's like less particles from the sun hitting it, and they were actually able to measure that. And then there were some kind of interesting effects that seemed to maybe speed up a little bit. So it's still sending back interesting data and beaming out things to the cosmos in case anybody's listening. And that's that was almost unique. I mean, there's few that have sort of kept going like that.
Yeah. Now, and I don't remember, maybe it was Voyager 1, one of them where they put this like gold record in it where they took a bunch of music that they felt sort of best represented humanity and put that, I guess, in Voyager and shot it out into space. Like why would they do something like that?
Yeah, if you're worried about the aliens coming and destroying us, I mean, it's a real concern. But I think we've always, humans have always had this desire to, connect to the universe. And you think about thousands of years ago when there weren't buildings and you just had this awesome night sky above you, and I'm sure it was terrifying and awesome. And, we've always dreamed of learning where we come from and figuring out, are we alone? And just trying to connect with other beings out there. So I think that was our attempt to connect with other civilizations. And,
I like that we can barely play records here anymore, and then we're like thinking that they'll have a record player.
Right. That's what I was thinking. Like, how they might.
Well, and just the idea that some alien civilization would like what? Get to Voyager, open it up, and find this record. Like,
Oh, sweet.
yeah, like sick. But I think I thought it was kind of a cool thing, but also like sort of a why thing. Also, there's a funny story about that. I don't know if you heard this, that the George Harrison song, My Sweet Lord, was one of the songs that they wanted to include on that record, and George Harrison's lawyers said no.
I didn't know that.
Like,
What?
worried about, they're going to steal
Royalties.
it. Yeah. We need residuals for anything.
Someone had a theory a few years back that if you could take old ceramics that were, manufactured during Greek times, because they were spinning and that people's hands were on them, that maybe they would have recorded them and it would be embedded in the, and of course it was, you couldn't do that. But I always thought that was like
Ceramics.
a very cool kind of thought to have had. You
Yeah,
know, that it's like-
Possibly why.
do we hear sound from the universe? Like, and if so, what do we hear?
In the movies, you do, but
Yeah, you do.
you've heard no one can hear you scream in space. It's you need air for the sound to travel. But I guess if you were close enough,
Molecules.
then
So we haven't because sometimes I'll see a news story about like, we're getting a strange repeated radio signal from outer space.
Yeah.
Like, what do you make of something like that?
Right. Like I said, I want to believe, that there's aliens and maybe that's what it is. But, we'll probably figure out some other explanation. I think we have in a lot of those cases. There's also like gravitational waves when these black holes spiral in together and then finally merge. And so you can take those waves that we detect on Earth because it actually like stretches space, and we measure that, sort of like a mini earthquake or something, but really small. And you can convert those into sound waves. So we don't actually hear them, but you can, I think they have to compress them a lot, into our range of hearing. But, so you can play games and try to hear things certain ways.
You're listening to WALN, the Alien. Happy Gloob Day, everyone.
Oh my God.
Is it
it's
Glue
so
Day already? But this leads into another question, which is what is your relationship with sci-fi movies? Do you find that
my
you
question,
can't
too.
enjoy them because you sit there saying, well, that's not possible, or do you just go in as a fan like, I'll take the ride?
Yeah, no, I enjoy them. I've always thought that,
Awesome.
the people that kind of pick them apart a little too much, I can suspend my disbelief. And
that's cool.
Maybe I'm also not smart enough that I'm watching. I'm like, oh, yeah, that seems feasible. And then somebody else explains it to me.
Yeah, there was a couple decades period where every problem was solved by, well, if we can just slingshot around that orbit, that we'll slingshot around the black hole, or we'll slingshot around the sun. Is that something that is actual theory?
I'm trying to remember those movies. I remember, trying to spin up the core. I remember that movie.
Star Trek 4.
Oh my God.
The way they travel through time is by zipping around the sun. And that somehow makes them travel through time. And in Interstellar, as we were talking about before, their big plan at the end is that we've got this giant black hole, and we're going to zip around it, and that's going to give us the speed that we need to get wherever the hell we're going.
Let's hope we figure it out, because I want to go someday and explore the universe and even just, get outside of our own galaxy and look down and see what it looks like, travel to other worlds, even the planets. I mean, wouldn't it be cool to just go, take a vacation on
totally.
Mars or something? And
Yeah,
I don't
Total
wanna live
Recall.
there, but
That's Total Recall.
Yeah.
But do you have any sci-fi movies that you're like, yeah, these
Or
are my
shows?
couple of favorites? Yeah, well, you mentioned the X-Files, which sort of blends, paranormal and outer
like-
space and all that kind of stuff. But were there things that you were like, I love this movie?
I mean, my favorite recently, I think, was Westworld. I mean, I love getting into, human consciousness, and it's a little less space, a little more AI that, we
Yes.
could also get into. But
What about shows like the modern Battlestar Galactica?
Yeah.
That was. Did you enjoy that? Did you watch that?
Yeah.
Enjoy that? That was.
Oh
so
yeah,
good.
yeah. I was a big fan of that too.
It's
yeah.
incredible. It's
Did
one of
your
my
parents
all-time.
do anything specific to encourage this in you? You think, as someone with two
Ooh,
kids,
Yes.
Yeah.
how did you get interested in this, and how do you think you can get people interested in this?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, my mom took me out to watch the space shuttle launches, when we could see them. We live here, outside of DC when I was growing up, and we could see them from here. But yeah, and I wonder about that with my own kid. He's super excited about all of this. He's seen me get excited. He watched the launch with us. I was hoping he would make it onto this Netflix documentary about JWST.
So sweet.
But
Yeah.
like right at the key moment, we were counting down, like everybody's super excited, and he like dropped his pants, and like I'm filming, and I'm like, all right, I don't know what to do with this. I can't send this into Netflix. So I like superimposed JWST.
And let me
on him,
clarify,
and
this kid is 17, okay?
yeah.
It's
And
a problem.
He'd never, it was a few years ago, so he was, what was he, 3 or 4, and he'd never done
how
that before.
cute.
He was excited.
Excitement,
But,
yeah.
Yeah.
well, now
but he's seen me getting super excited about JWST, and he's built some of that, excitement himself, and we would recreate the launch and different things, But then I think it went a little too far, where he realized how much I love it. And he even made up this little song, like a dad that loves JWST more than his son. Because
You're like, wait.
he sees it.
But do you
I should-
do you adhere to sort of conventional modern child raising? Like, does he have an iPad and he's doing crap on it, or are you just more like Montessori, or like how do you think to encourage this with kids, or do you think that you were just drawn to this irrespective of your background and would have done it no matter what?
Yeah, I don't know. My parents studied, art and English and history, and see how I turned out. I mean,
Right.
I don't know that I have any, control over what he's going to do. I mean, I hope that he's happy and is somehow fulfilled, but I can't imagine him finding such a fulfilling career like I have. I mean, it's hard. I'm so grateful that I get to do this, and I think it's really hard, for people to find, fulfilling careers. Especially as there's, just more people, and it's tough.
I have a question about that. You
Sure.
I read an interview with you from 2015, and it said that you felt so fortunate and privileged to get paid to do what you love. And in many cases, people tend to pursue the things that they love, and the line between business and pleasure sort of lean towards business, and then they start to lose that passion. Like my husband is a musician, and a lot of people wonder, like, how do I stay passionate about it? So what do you think are the reasons why you still love it?
Yeah, I think I've stayed out of management. I think that sort of sucks a lot of the enjoyment out of things. I might have to do it at some point, but
Right.
I think it's it's been super exciting, and thanks for doing your homework and and looking all that up. It's I do try to tell my wife that I am working and it's hard work, and she doesn't believe me. She says, "Come on, it's so exciting.
You're just looking at space stuff again."
Yeah. And I think like any job, there's more and more stuff that, is a job, and it's not exactly what you want to do, but you do it because it's, it's part of the job. And I think, some years ago looking back was sort of the best time in my career, like as a postdoc, when you could just do like pretty much all science. And, now, and I tell folks, it's great then, aside from not having job security, but as you go on, then there's, more and more responsibilities, but it's still super exciting, and we get new telescopes, so it's super exciting to see the new stuff. And I don't know if you get the same sort of things happening. I mean, there's not some amazing new guitar technology, I guess, but maybe I don't know. I don't know how you keep it fresh in other industries. I mean,
Right, especially something like writing, maybe, because it's like, I got a new iPad. I don't know.
No, auto-tune for the music industry. But Dan, do you remember, was there a moment growing up that, where you felt like, okay, this is what I want to do? Were you someone who laid in the backyard looking up at the stars, or how did this develop for you?
Yeah, I think I'd watch some of Carl Sagan, Cosmos, and, I always just thought it was, bigger than all of us, and I wanted to work on it and help, understand where we came from. And then at some point in grad school, I said, maybe I should be helping to save the world or something. Like, there's, that stuff is all out there, but I figured I was in it, so deep, and I should continue on with it. But
Were you a standout in math growing up? Like, did you tend to excel at that stuff?
Yeah. My math was really good, but again, I don't end up using anything I learned in school, really. I think. I mean, I probably do, on some level, but a lot of it is new stuff. I mean, you get these images, and then how do you measure how bright the galaxies are, and how do you figure out how far away they are, that kind of thing.
Right.
Like I didn't learn that in school. You probably use some stuff that you learn, but yeah, if you're not good at math, I mean, there's a lot of other stuff. Writing computer programs, but also just writing. I mean, we write, papers, we write proposals, and there's a lot, and we're not great at it. Like
Right.
most of us weren't getting A's in English. Like that's not really our skill set.
It's interesting because I was when I went to college, I had read, like you, Cosmos, whatever, and there was Timothy Ferris books at the time and Stephen Hawking, and I was very into it. And I was like, you had to declare a major, so I declared astrophysics.
All right.
And then I had to take more math. My math was okay, but I was not as good as some of these math people. And so then I was taking a seminar with this guy, Melvin Schwartz, who apparently had won a Nobel Prize in physics. And I asked a question, and he told me if I didn't understand what he was talking about, then I must be an idiot. And then I was
Wow.
and then I said,
encouraging.
I'll probably just switch to English.
There I can be an idiot.
Yeah. So that was my
Lovely
the
guy.
end of my astrophysics career.
Damn.
I'm really sorry to hear that, and there's been too much toxicity, and it's part of the reason we have more men in astronomy than women, and it's changing. We're getting better about that. But
Right.
yeah, you can have one. Especially people have an advisor that treats them harshly, and people say, I don't need this. I'm gonna
Right.
go out and make a bunch of money. Working for Google or something. I mean,
Yeah, and Goldy, while that's a shame, I would have paid to have been there at the time.
Yeah, it was pretty humiliating.
Yeah, no, that's
Totally.
why I wanted to be there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, an idiot. Well, I'm getting an A in restoration literature. So I don't know how that's possible.
Now, Dan, I you often hear when astrophysicists are talking about how far away something is, it's it's a million light years, it's a billion light years, and the numbers start to get overwhelming, and we know that means it takes the light that many years to travel to get to us. That's how incredibly far away it is.
Right.
But are there people on Earth who are theorizing or are working on potential light speed travel?
I hope so. I mean, even then, it would take billions of years to get to the stuff I look at. But it's not something I work on. But I hope somebody smart figures that out.
Does your work tie in with, say, the particle accelerator and what they're doing there?
No, it used to when I worked on dark matter. I would talk to those folks, and we would trade ideas about what dark matter could be, for example. But yeah,
Has anyone come up with a satisfying explanation of what it is, or do we still just not know?
Yeah, there's a million explanations for what it could be, but we don't know which one is right, and it could be just the next particle that the people make at these particle accelerators. They'll smash some particles into each other with more energy, and then dark matter will pop out.
Cool.
So that could be one answer.
So
Or
it's like it
not
could be like car crashes in space, basically.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's a weird way that we try to figure out what stuff is by smashing atoms into each other, but that could be it.
Yeah.
Or it could be something that isn't even a particle at all, and it's just some weird way that the universe works that we'll maybe never understand or be able to figure out.
So in this career of looking at stuff, and what you now, I think you're saying is a lot of looking at pictures and analyzing data. Is it more a steady churn of daily go through this, go through that, or is a lot of that and then these aha moments? And if it is aha moments, could you tell us some of those that you've had?
Yeah, I mean, why don't I show, because we've had some cool
please.
discoveries. Most distant galaxy, most distant star. So the one I'm probably most famous for, or actually my student, was this star called Arendelle. So this is the most distant star known. And it's remarkable, and
It's the bright one here in the middle.
yeah.
The
So
little red
it's
one there.
so it's down here in this image if you're watching on
yeah.
YouTube, and then it's zoomed in over here, and this little dot.
Wow.
And since this is a show about writing, I guess you talk about it once in a while. Maybe I could read this quote from, because Prince Harry actually talked about this in his autobiography, and he compared Arundel to his mom, Princess Diana. So
Wow.
what he said was, he wrote, recently astronomers rearranged their biggest telescopes, aimed them at one tiny crevice in the cosmos, and managed to catch a glimpse of one breathtaking sphere, which they named Arundel, the Old English word for morning star. Billions of miles off, and probably long vanished, Arundel is closer to the Big Bang, the moment of creation, than our own Milky Way. And yet somehow it's still visible to mortal eyes because it's just so awesomely bright and dazzling. That was my mother. That was why I could see her, sense her always.
Wow.
Oh my God. I'm emotional.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
That is some incredible ghostwriting.
Whoever read that.
I think who the person he worked with is like this really, really talented. No. I'm being entirely serious. That like
Yes.
if you read his book and like Andre Agassi's book,
Yeah.
I mean, they definitely, it's a form of artistry to take someone's story
Yes.
and put it in terms like that. Like I am a little bit in awe of that.
Yeah.
I'm not
That was beautiful.
shitting on the whole thing.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
Very
beautiful.
affected.
And so
Yeah, me
when
too.
we say that things are gone, this might be gone now. This could be gone now. And that's because we're observing something as it was, 13 billion years ago or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think though? Or have you ever seen a moment like where from one image to the next something is gone?
Yeah. There's stars that blow up, and this star will probably blow up in a supernova, but we'd have to be real lucky to see it. And there's other stars that we have seen, go off, and you kind of blink the images and you see this thing blow up. And this star is really massive. And, it's remarkable that we can see a star at all this far away, but thanks to this magnification, and we actually saw it with Hubble, and then we got to look at it with JWST, and it just, popped out in even more detail. My student, Brian Welch, studied this and was able to measure the colors because it goes out to such long wavelengths in the infrared with this new telescope. And he actually sees, hints of two massive stars, an O-type and a B-type. And so they're so massive that, the massive stars die young. They burn fast and die young.
Live hard.
So it was probably, only a few million years, which seems like a long time, but in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of the blink of an eye. So these stars are probably long gone. This Arundel.
And so when you say long gone, is it that they've become black holes?
Maybe, yeah, depending how big they are. Yeah, if it's big
So
enough.
the black hole, the notion is that it's a bend in space-time, or it's a mass that's sort of infinitely heavy that anything that goes within its radius of gravitational pull gets crushed, right? Am I explaining that decently?
Yeah, as far as we know. We haven't gone in yet, but
Yeah.
Right.
Are there obviously we want to try to get in one. What do you think is the sort of biggest stumbling block? Is it distance? Is it, what are we doing something to try and observe a black hole?
Surviving.
I hope somebody will help figure that out. But I don't know. I don't want to go in one myself, but I can think of some people that
Let's not call them out by name. But now, so you spend all of your professional time sort of looking outward. Do you ever think about looking at our planet and things like climate change and things like boy, we have to hang on to what we have here because it's so special. Like where do you fall on those issues?
Yeah, I think that's when, people first went to the moon and they looked back and they saw the Earth. It sparked the environmental movement in this country that, we see how precious our planet is and it has this really thin atmosphere that we have to make sure not to F up. I mean, otherwise we'll end up like Venus with the runaway greenhouse effect.
Right.
And, so we have to take care of our planet because there's no place else like it that we know of, no place nearby.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I remember, when growing up, a big issue was the ozone layer, and all these things that we're using, spray cans of deodorant or whatever that were eroding the ozone layer. And so I think, wisely and greatly, we sort of stopped making those things. And from what I've heard, the ozone layer then repaired itself. Is there a version of that in terms of like, carbon emissions and things like that, where if we did stop using them, would the Earth continue to repair itself?
I think the Earth would repair itself, and we just we keep polluting more and more, and we need to use those renewable energies. It's a crisis that we have to figure out. Otherwise, it's just going to get a lot high. And there's already things that are happening around the world in terms, there's droughts and things, and more severe storms, and people in crisis, and it's still nice and sunny in LA and Baltimore here, but we can't push it much longer. It's already getting bad in some places.
I just want you to know I'm composting, so I'm not part of it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
You're
welcome.
A hero comes along.
All those eggshells are going into a green bin.
Can I ask you a question about SpaceX and how do people who don't work at SpaceX, how do they feel about the company as a whole, or even about, is there a sort of stigma about people who do work there? And is that something that you could even talk about?
People have a lot of opinions about SpaceX. I mean, obviously they're doing a bunch of great things for space and enabling things. People have strong feelings about Elon too. It's I mean, they kind of took over a lot of stuff that some of the stuff that NASA used to do is being done by this sort of private industry, and they brought in a lot of talent from there. But
did it create more jobs in the industry, or did it take did it take jobs? I mean, because it's privatized, like.
I don't know, actually. That's
okay. Sorry, I'm just curious.
No, that's.
I just want to shout out my niece Meryl, who works for SpaceX.
Oh, really? What does she do?
MIT grad and high school valedictorian. Yeah,
excellent.
Oh, wow, join the club. All right, excellent.
I'd love to see you engage her in a conversation.
A couple of valedictorians just chewing the fat. Sure, I can see that working. Dan, do you see? Because it seems like we've sort of focused on Mars, Mars, because it's close and it feels like it's not, as you said, like Venus, and it's not a mess of greenhouse gases. Mm-hmm. Do you see anything happening there? Do you see like colonization of Mars?
I hope so. I mean, we have a lot of work to do to make it, habitable. But yeah, I think, it's good to have a backup plan, in case some big, rock comes and smashes us or something. So I'm hopeful, and I think that's one of the plans is that we're kind of building up that technology so we can get there.
Right. And do you when you see like images from the Mars rover and they have uncovered some interesting pictures of things that look almost constructed on Mars. What do you make of those kinds of images? Like I remember one from last year that was like, oh my God, look at that. It's a door. Like what do you make
Good
of
memory.
that? Is that just odd shapes and like coincidence? Or do you think that maybe millions, billions of years in the past, there was some kind of life there?
I want to believe. I wish, we could find some real, hard evidence and, I could, talk to one of these Martians. I think that would be exciting. But I guess I'm not convinced yet, but I'm open-minded.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah. And what do you tell people? Because I assume this must come up a lot in the DC area cocktail parties. If somebody says, "Hey, we faked the moon landing," it was fake. Like, what do you say to those people?
Yeah, I'm not invited to all those cocktail parties, but yeah, come on. I mean, we went there, and we've gone to a lot of other planets, and we've explored space places, and the planets are all round, including ours, and you have to go pretty far into some conspiracy theories. I mean, I understand just wanting to say that we beat the Russians and that sort of thing, but I'm pretty sure we went there, and
why haven't we been back then?
Why is the picture so
go.
clear?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess people got kind of bored.
Go.
Yeah,
The four of us can go. Yeah.
I think there were so many moon launches, and after a while, I think people kind of lost their appetite for it, and we're going and looking at more rocks, and like, all right, let's do something else. I mean,
Right.
and it
Do you
takes a lot
think
of
though
resources.
that I think you're a little younger than I am, but so growing up, there were these launches in the space shuttle and this sense of national enthusiasm about space that really definitely lit something in me, to the point where when they retired the space shuttle and it was flying by our offices on the back of a plane, I just wept. What are those things now that you think will be that for the younger generation?
Yeah, no, I think there was, a lot of the space race had to do with, beating Russia to the moon, and there was a lot of excitement around that. But nowadays, going to Mars, would be super exciting. Or, trying to find life on other planets. We're looking for it with JWST, but it wasn't exactly built for that. It was built to study, distant galaxies and look back in time. And it can also do other planets really well. And so a lot of people are doing that. But we really need the next great telescope, even bigger, to try to look for life on other planets and study them in detail and their atmospheres. And so, I think, when we start finding hints of life out there, and I think that is going to be such an exciting thing for everybody.
If I said to you, I'll give you anything you need, a telescope of any size, what would be the thing that would unlock everything in your opinion?
Yeah, we need bigger telescopes, better instruments. And we're working on it. There's plans. People have already been planning for a long time, and I think I bet that within our lifetimes, we will find life on another planet, I think. I mean, and it might be simple life, maybe some algae or something, get some sort of signal, and that would just blow everybody's minds, because it'd be like, wow, we're not alone. There's other stuff out there. We can't talk to it yet. Maybe some future generation will find that, or maybe we'll be lucky and get to meet them. I don't know.
Do you find it difficult to exist in a country where so much emphasis is put on God and us at the center of all?
It's no, I think people have all different opinions, and I do want people to also believe the stuff we're doing, and I think there's definitely room for for religion and science, like it's been for thousands of years. It was considered more of a philosophy, and it was all kind of joined. And I think as long as people, don't take it too literally and tell people, what to do with their bodies and that kind of thing, then I'm all for it. I mean,
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's fair.
You're very open-minded.
Yes, I do. I appreciate that. Although I was hoping you'd come on here and just slam religion, but I'm glad you've been very diplomatic. You've been very generous with your time
So
today.
awesome.
We really appreciate it. And I'm sure we could talk about this stuff for 3 more
We could
hours.
pester you for...
Yeah, we have to have you back and with
I
your
know.
wife.
Well, yes. When the next exciting thing is about to happen, and I get the sense that there is something exciting going on that, again, you're not allowed to talk about. But when the time comes that you're allowed to talk about it, we really want you to come back, and we thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me on. It's been great talking to you all.
Oh, and before we go, let's talk about, you mentioned before we started that I can't believe it, but that you've been listening to this podcast in preparation, and that you had the beginnings of a Johnny
Good
joke.
memory.
So we would love to hear what that is.
I did. I tried to do my homework a little bit, and it's a funny show. And I thought, maybe I could put one together. So
it's
let's
so
see
awesome.
if I have it here. So all right. So space news Johnny joke.
Yes.
For the first time, astronomers discovered a black hole at the center of a cluster of stars in our galaxy. This intermediate mass black hole is the missing link between supermassive black holes in the centers of galaxies and the black holes that form when stars implode, like Diddy.
Hold on.
I got goosebumps just thinking about it.
I got goosebumps from
I
that.
got goosebumps. Well,
Look, pal, I don't go to where you work and knock the red dwarf out of your hand, okay?
Well, maybe you should. If you ever
Coe.
want to come help us write things, we could use all the help.
I will.
Oh, that's
Be
so
careful
cool.
what you
He'll
ask.
be there, trust me. Well, Dan
Office poison.
Coe, thank you so much for being here
Thank
with
you.
us today.
Thank
It's
you.
been really eye-opening. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Oh, God. Dan Coe, thank you for
That was a-
being here.
yeah.
That was, what a journey.
That's
so
a great
nice.
idea that you reached out to him.
I mean, I
So
can't
cool.
believe it worked.
I know,
and
he was funny,
he was spot
too.
he was spot on. I was stoned watching that documentary. I'm like, oh, this would be cool.
Yeah,
and then here he was.
He nailed you.
He did, except the American Dad part. I was not
I
watching
thought that was
American
hilarious.
Dad. Yeah, that he said
That was the funniest thing
I
that's
know.
been said on this podcast in
I
a long, long time. That you were watching American Dad.
Reruns.
Tom Devani's famous quote. Haven't caught it. All right. So that was awesome. And now let's get to something a little less awesome, but very soothing. A portion of the show we like to call Top 5. Top 5. Oh, beautiful. All right, Goldy, this was your category today. Tell us what we got.
Yeah, so this is top 5 things that are free.
Yes.
Number 5, exercise.
Ooh.
Oh, that's a good one.
Makes you feel good.
That it
Free.
does. Yep.
Number 4,
When you do it.
sleep.
Oh, I
yes.
should change my list. That's great, but I'm not going to.
Yes.
Number 3, Dan Coe knows, stars.
Yes. Oh, that's
Just
true.
look up and you get a
you.
sense of yourself not mattering.
Look at you, a romantic.
Number 2, the ocean.
Yeah.
Yes. That's lovely.
Semi-overlap.
Number 1, love.
Oh, man.
look at
You make it
you.
look bad.
Yeah, look at me.
Sweet.
Look at me, everyone.
Wow.
Look at me.
All right, top 5 free things. We were on the same wavelength because, like, I was in the area of like Costco samples, but no. I went.
Yeah,
I went your
that's
route.
the thing was
wide open.
That's fine too.
Number 5, orgasms. They are
Gross.
free. They are free, my
So on
friend.
brand.
Gee. Number 4, I know you two are out on this, but I still, when you go to a party and it says open bar,
That's free.
That is nice.
It's a solid night. Number 3, laughter.
Yes.
Laughter is
Yes,
it's like a
that's free.
drug that's
Yes.
free.
Yes.
Number 2, water.
Yes.
Yeah.
Water.
Water.
Very important.
Very
And
good.
number 1, I had music.
Oh,
Music.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Oh, you kind of pay for music, but okay.
No, you don't.
Not when you're Alec.
No. I mean, like the radio.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
the radio is free.
Free, that's
the
true.
music, someone's paying for it.
All right, settle down. It's in the air. An open air concert, free concert on your town green. How about that?
You just kicked off into a strong wind.
Downwind. Okay, I do have some sort of crossover with both of you.
Good.
My number 5 is playing an instrument, which is, I guess, like
nice.
music, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's
Well,
free
the
to-
instrument
right,
isn't
it's not
free, but okay, the playing of it is free.
Exactly.
Just, all right. I could really be an asshole if I
I could have
wanted
just
to,
said
but I'll
singing,
stop.
right? Number 4, deep sleep.
Yeah.
Nothing better than that's just the best. Number 3, oxygen. You know, the air you breathe.
Yeah.
Can't live without it. Number 2, cuddling.
Oh, that's like orgasm.
That's my version. Cuddling. And number 1, the sun.
Oh,
Yes,
Yeah.
good one.
You got it. That was good. That was so fun.
Oh, yeah.
All right, JC, next week's you. What do you got?
Okay, so in sort of honor of Dan Coe, I am doing top 5. Now, I put sci-fi movies or TV shows because I wasn't sure how much sci-fi you guys have watched.
A lot.
So should I do TV shows or should I do one?
Do whatever you want. Whatever you see this. I think movies and TV shows is fair.
Okay. Goldie, you don't care either way?
I'm in a
Yeah, no, I think both because I'm not a big sci-fi watcher.
Perfect.
So
Yeah,
Perfect.
I'm
Okay,
in a
then we'll do
sci-fi state of mind after Dan Coe, so that's
Yes,
good. I'll
totally.
be writing that down as soon as we hang up today, which is going to be in a moment. And we thank you, Dan Coe, for being on here today. Thank you two for being awesome,
Thank
and
you.
we will talk to you again next week.
I guess we will. I fucking give up. I don't care.
That was fun.
And it stops right now.
And then a single hair fell out.
Big balls up in space.
Giggity.
Oh, sweet.